Thank you very much. My name is Nadim Shehadi. I work at an institution called Chatham House, which is the Royal Institute of International Affairs in London. It was set up after the First World War by people who came back from the Versailles Conference very dissatisfied with the results and thinking that they have to continue the discussion, especially with the Americans and with other Europeans, to prevent the Second World War, which of course failed, but the discussion is still continuing. And there are institutions that were built on the model of Chatham House, which, like the Council on Foreign Relations in New York and others. Now, what is special about Chatham House is something called the Chatham House Rule, which allows people to discuss very freely because under the Chatham House Rule, one can use the information from the meeting, but one cannot mention who said what. So this, in a way, frees people who are constrained by their position or by certain attributes and allows them to speak without worrying that someone will quote them and will say so and so said that. And that facilitates a lot of discussions in Chatham House. It facilitates a lot of mediation, a lot of international relations work that we do. And this meeting is under the Chatham House Rule. So you can use the information. If you want to use Twitter or send a tweet about the meeting later, you can do that. And there is a Twitter hashtag for the meeting, but you cannot mention any names in the meeting. Now, I've been following the work of the Fondation in Lebanon and in Palestine and Jordan and Egypt and Syria since the beginning. Nobody in our region can not know about their work. And I also had the privilege of also visiting some of the projects that they have in Peru last year. Very impressive what impact work can do when it's sustained in the long term with partners and reliable partners like the Fondation works, the method that it works. And it was a privilege to be able to take part in setting up the CEMO here. I think the work of the CEMO complements the work of the Fondation. In a way, humanitarian work is very important, and development work is very important, but it is a bit like local anesthetic. It does not treat the problem, it just treats the symptoms. And it's very important to have an institution like the CEMO where we understand the problem better. There's no need to solve all the problems, but it's important to understand them better. And the way one frames the problem implies a lot of things for the work of the CEMO, for diplomats, for international policymakers. It's the way you pose the question which is important rather than the answer. And I think the presence of the CEMO in Madrid and its being in Spanish is also important, especially for our subject today, which is Syria, because it's a very hot topic in Latin America. And I've been in touch with many institutions and individuals in Latin America, and they are very far away, but they are very close to the conflict. They are very involved, and they need new perspectives, and I'm sure they will appreciate the publications that will come out from this meeting. There's a very old established Syrian community in many of the countries in Latin America, and they're very active economically and politically in many ways. So I will stop here with just one last thing, which is that this seminar on Syria is coming at a very appropriate time, because it is a time when we need to understand Syria better. There are preparations for a meeting in Geneva, which is called Geneva II, and the way the meeting is going to be framed will determine whether there's a solution in Syria or whether we will continue for many more years with the bloodshed that we're seeing in Syria. And this is where we need to understand the problem and pose the question in a proper way. One last thing, that part of the strength of an institution like the CIMO is the international network that it's built, and over the years I've seen that grow, and I've seen it become like a very close-knit family of experts from Europe, from the Middle East, some practitioners, some diplomats, and some academics, and that, I think, is a measure of the success of an institution. Thank you.